Hello, Professor Berger Sweeney, Dr. Berger Sweeney in Trinity College. There's an officer who uses the name Darth Vader associated with your police, who is involved with a whole bunch of names who have roles with predicate acts with names on my street, involved with judges and prosecutors on off Central Connecticut State University, and child campuses involved with predicate acts before the World Trade Center attack. And then in that context, as names who enter cities, been putting little magic tricks into databases, sequence shifts. Now, some of the names involve wire crimes of Weathersfield Police with this falsified police reports, identity theft, fraud, slanders. They brought up confession. They brought up their roles on off Trinity College with Charlie Bowes years ago. And then in the context, people tied to them who also years ago were involved with relevant police and courts with federal crimes with kids, also with gangs, and the schools, attaching little allusions and databases into branching in the schools and private ones simultaneously, including medical campuses and fire campuses. And so they say things, do things to have little kids and adults leave things out, and then they ask themselves questions about fake conversations they have with others and things like that, and with truth in there, and then they make fake police reports. They have criminally foreign influence readings of statutes with Russian families. There's a Peruta family, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed some ways, and then other people tied to them recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed other ways. And I don't know them. I never had communication with them. How they sent this over the media channels and YouTube, and also connected to their everyone forced to speak through others in their roles all along Route 3, and their roles with a lady, one of the multiple lawyers, but one of the lawyers of the Weathersfield Police Chief Cintron, involved also all along Route 3 and conjunctions to it with the Peruta family, invite people tied to them and their neighbors through time. They know my name, but I don't know their names. They have roles with a whole bunch of investigators, nurses, and things like that at Hartford Hospital that have been involved with crime scenes criminally and with interbranch locations, with judges and prosecutors and their family members. A whole bunch of people in the intelligence community associated with Ray Claw and his father with that name. And they have a whole bunch of people with other family members of theirs, reportedly a Scalora family. And those were Scalora and Claw, one of the names brought up by the police. They made confessions about the switching names and things like that forced by the Weathersfield Police Chief Cintron. There are FBI and CIA families, and their roles and uses of their nations, neighbors, and conversations with neighbors involved, where and how criminally foreign influence uses of investigations and investigators are recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed through time, having roles commonly as their ties to uses of my name with names of people associated at the corner of Fairlane Drive and Carriage Hill Drive and Griswold Street, like a Joshua Stryker is one of the ones on off Trinity College involved. I never had a conversation with you trying to fake exception they tried to make years ago with a spot next to the state judicial branch officers involved with the various ways with state police and state police families through time, and people with the World Trade Center and military families involved with federal crimes with little kids and on off campuses federal crimes and criminal uses of their teachers at the same time simultaneously, where and how they're using they have predicate acts on off campuses connected, those illusions and uses of them and their motivations, narratives, because that's effectively used to keep out the breaching method, which is relative where and how it is answer /s to all kinds of things with American history that are recorded, effectively maintained, assigned, blamed on other things, others ourselves. by a breaching method, but also through other motivations, nature's needs, and interest in narratives. Relevant also to where and how they have employed uses of KKK themed, Confederate flag themed, and black themed interbranch leaderships and military, as the names involved off the World Trade Center and the court next to it, the Ninth Circuit Court, that are involved with other courts in Connecticut before the World Trade Center attack, with identity theft frauds, sequence shifts, fabricating things in the databases, criminally foreign influence uses of um, on-off campuses connections, known or not, and then further in ways that are increasingly to all locations. In other words, to all homes. All homes in suburbs are sickly, distinctly, tactically denatured compared to those in the cities by the breaching method that uses that to measure and maintain other things ourselves. And or simultaneously to measure who's going to count to that properly. Blame it on things properly. Be trying to do it properly, not leaving out the nine, not doing it for some other agenda relevant to it. See those other agenda relevant? Oh, well, this is, we're just going to go up. All we've heard is so we need another name. President Trump said somewhere on Twitter that he wanted another name, something better than bullshit. I think we should put B shift. So we have to make this B shift, breaching method shift, is one of the swears. We need swears that are polite to use. And because of the fact sheeting nature oriented, racketeering worse than war crimes, though, simultaneously involved here. That's what this is. This is a serious thing. When you bring up New York City and slavery, you bring up how cities across the world are in this rat trap, and there are problems and threats of war, and you leave that out. That means that who's leaving it out, who's speaking for us, they're not capable of speaking for us. They're sick. All our countries. We're in the same ancient trap. There's no integrity here. Even if they made up the stuff about the religious spots with the child abuse, it's reported true because the interbranch woman rolls with it too. And there's no way to counter that properly unless you counter it for what really causes and uses it, which is remote uses of those locations for some stuff that has nothing to do with that already. They already made them as a certain type of victim, pretend they were integrity where they weren't. Same way they get the little kids and adults shooting each other with the statistics regarding shooting. If they made it up, it's rolls with them reported with wire crimes and the broadcasting crimes anyways, criminally foreign influence readings of statutes. So they have little boys and girls and their family members of the schools. We have one for it with the intelligence community using their names of other people, in other words. And they're lying when there are exceptions on Facebook because of what I caught them. They affect all these confessions to me from strangers that have connections through time. Like Enzo finds his cousin. And so women with the intelligence community reported, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed on-off Elm Street and Rocky Hill, and on-off involved on-off Franklin Avenue with investigated people on-off the state judicial branch offices, on-off Two-Rod Highway involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders with them while simultaneously as federal evidence as crimes, rules, and extortion and threats as their roles with overt criminal enterprise and private ones. Their families' roles with body dumping spots. All brought up with confessions real quick, tied to a Detective Dillon, or I don't know what his title is now or what agency he's with, but he's one of the ones, Kevin Dillon, and there's an Anna Dillon / Andy Dillon. And they're one of the ones involved with the names, involved with the uses of the corner of Carriage Hill Drive and Fairlane Drive increasingly in different ways brought up in confessions and demonstrations, and people lying about the motivations. Their motivations, they're planting motivations, had something to do with the people involved with the predicate acts on off the campuses, and further with the principal child offenders campus timed on off Trinity College with the Joshua Stryker involved with the so there was also a spot of families, one of the ones that were brought up by confessions, by one of the calls brought up by the Wethersfield Police confessions, forging and switching names, involved with wire crimes on off the Wethersfield town offices and the library and the Wethersfield Police Department where it is now, where it used to be. Now, these are people also with the former director of the FBI and with various natures of federal criminals who timed roles with narratives on campuses together, where they were planting slanders and federal, identity thefts, natures of federal evidence as crime roles. And as strangers pretend to know people. So it has something to do with the intelligence community's roles with shopping centers like in Rocky Hill, involved with and with the spots in Newington, so involved with the name Cologne. I don't know the name of his neighbor. He's got a neighbor involved with a whole bunch of people involved at the spots next to the state capitol with an O'Brien family, and their confessions and demonstrations of that years ago has rolled something with the corners of the streets with the Russians and with the say Faglione family also involved with some doctors with drugs and medicines crimes with little boys and girls, and fake conversations and fake ties to little boys and girls too as doctors, and the real patients and others. Now these are ones with judges and prosecutors also personally criminally involved with abuses of the girls, also sexual natured, and they have more obscure pictures, roles with uses of Twitter and of the policing and sensibilities of the online platforms. Facebook has there's a what's her name? Celeste Wells. I do not know Celeste Wells. They try to make brief exception. In other words, it was with people I never even saw around my middle school. And in other words, and then high school too. And the people that write the yearbooks and stuff like that, intelligence community has them criminally foreign influence. Uses of roles with people as a certain type of victim / hyper. I don't know her. She'll tell you that too. She only confirm, confess, demonstrate, reported roles being used by others, men and women and little kids, for federal rules of evidence as crimes, federal criminally for child abuses, natures of identity theft, fraud, slanders, federal broad crimes with the broadcast companies and their roles with each age of campus. So WFSB has been sending in people to the fourth graders through time and using that criminal. They have roles with all kinds of medical corruption and police forms with their families, including teachers from other campuses. They have kids at Wethersfield campuses with the name O'Neill. They also have roles with Joshua Julian and a whole bunch of names with forensics locations that are also involved with confessions and demonstration. Other ties with names at those corners on Fairlane noted criminally involved through time, and with campuses I went to, and timed uses of that. So a whole bunch of people have timed roles with confessions out of nowhere, pretending to know me, time in Wethersfield that also had roles on off Trinity College, and roles, say everyone forced to speak with others behind our back. They're lying about what they believe why people are using others' names. They're lying about their motive. They can't get on paper. They're forging and switching names into branch, individually grouped it together. They have crime methods manifest and in conjunction to this. So they've been lying to Judge Napolitano and about their motivations for those little sneaky things they did with the names that lived next to or that lived next to the community center in Wethersfield through time, and that worked with it, because those are the names further involved with the child abuses. Now, there are various natures of courts, judges, and prosecutors that have been speaking fake things into records as roles with some sick men and women, with some sick little ways of hurting girls sickly distinctly and boys sickly distinctly, and together also further consciously through time. Has something to do with their roles with Russians and with how Tom Peruta said he's from Russia. And people with my sixth grade class connected this to a Cuddy family. I don't know the Cuddy family. They tried to pretend other one time. I walked by him near one of the names involved with that corner of that street, with his sister and himself, also involved on my street with predicate acts, with names involved with Weathersfield police confessions over the phones and stuff. But they've been replacing with other police forms in courts and political families what's actually recorded over the phones with fabricated audio and video. There is maintenance to a shell game that they have between CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC. It is being used to measure and maintain by the breaching method sickly distinctly from themselves. For example, when they have like overtly sick, one side has overtly sick positions relative to the other because they need fake sides. They need fake exception natures, fake exception because have a certain type of victim that has roles with the answers to what's behind the shootings and all that. They have roles with fact, human nature, predicate acts against these kids and young men and women, and people that don't make it to old age, increasingly, and for increasingly ways that are individually grouped and together bound. So these were not the means. Instantly, our countries could agree to executive orders and equivalents where temporary positions are going to be made. And so people can keep moving. So in other words, but what they keep moving to is like, they don't have to go far. In other words, everyone moves it for them. And we make sure that they have full means to fight, to make fact, human nature wise, and with our help, to counter. In other words, we're going to claim the suburbs tactically denatured, let alone the city. To reveal space means needs in nature out of nowhere. We could set up a circuit where we're doing this consciously as a species body. This is sickly distinctly on the countries with the strength to go across the globe and into space and under the ocean, but we're still in the suburbs tactically nature, let alone the cities. You guys think these are me? You guys left out exception nature when you make every value treatment. See, identity uses value distinctly from the systems, the identity systems that are inside of its own. We cannot make up the past truth that really came true. We can make it up. It can be systems tactical ulterior than the one that's true always, and as what is positive unto itself. And as with and as the value of Earth's a special difference not denied with it, because otherwise that is forced from here, lethal IDs, not as death, as life and death are about the simultaneous. They are about where and how. More of the hyper-simultaneous is making itself through temporary space/existence. And this is what English and the other ancient languages were revealed to teach. So we have this worse than obfuscated. And the means and needs for it, they were juxtaposed with more than anyone fathomed. Then that there aren't only means and needs and motivations of people. There is maintenance to those same repeated group like summaries. Oh, it's wealth. Oh, it's this. No one makes the distinction about the types of wealth, like our founders asked us to with this. You can't see only they're saying things to keep equality of fact, human nature. They can't afford counters to criminal and citizens' natures of positive and negative and identity treatment. You guys are sick. because of your faith, dishonestly too, though. But in investigations, investigators, vetting identities, perception of others and of yourselves, you're dishonest. So please make sure someone asks Fox News, MSNBC, or not MSNBC, because these are CNN sources and these are Fox News sources. I don't know about MSNBC. I mean, I know their sources too are the same thing. A former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, recorded involved with the names that forced, tricked her, persuaded Saudis to roll with them with federal crimes with people on our campuses I went to from the youngest age. And they didn't want it. They attach everyone to their fake motivations too. They have a guy named Peruta, a different Peruta family. I don't know if they're related. From Rock Hill is the one, different. There's a Wethersfield one. I don't know if this one's Wethersfield too, but one of them used to live next at the corner on the principal child abuser's campus. And he's involved with a payer or a Berger, a woman lawyer, who's involved with women judges and prosecutors who have been using their locations, pretending passions and emotions, and been using their locations to hide, stacking, fabricated things as collusions at crime scenes and on campuses, and with the names involved with those corners through time. I don't even know all their names. There was a girlfriend of both sides, both houses. You know, there was girlfriend of a house, one there and one other there. The other people live there now. But girlfriends of both houses had people involved with identity thefts and frauds against me, with this who used their teachers criminally too, with the investigative intelligence community. So there's an Oliveri family, people on Elm Street and Wethersfield, and people on Elm Street, and they are ones on Elm Street and Rocky Hill also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Roles with Wethersfield police through time and other police forums, and with overt criminal enterprises, private one, people involved with identity thefts and frauds with them, fake conversations, criminally foreign influence uses of my name behind my back with my teachers, and with their intimate ties, and with themselves, and they did this connected between campuses and between cities. They're putting little fake illusions in there. A whole bunch of people with sound view, a whole bunch of people tied to a Mazzucato family, married to the Wethersfield police chief, Cintron, Jessica Cintron. I never met her in my life, never was around in my life. He has something to do with Webb School in Wethersfield, and the Southstein Middle School has further roles with some Middletown judges and prosecutors also further involved with drugs and medicines, crimes with kids, sexual abuses of them, and medical abuses of them, because they have to hide life progressions from what their roles are being used for time, and their roles with criminally foreign influence uses of forensics locations, and also relative to the fact-keeping, age-oriented predicate acts, and other natures of them, and extortion and identity thefts and frauds that Joshua Julian is involved with, also with home break-in threats. Relevant. Dry, my throat is so dry. Merry Christmas, Rob Hill. My throat just got so dry. Many pray, many cry. So, in other words, Merry Christmas, Rob Hill. Christmas. Consciousness is high. Rises/raises. Inherent seeds. Mothers, alpha seed. Christmas. English was revealed like Greek letters. Reportedly, they also spell out words and sentences. So A spells out alpha, alphabet. M, the 13th middle letter, spells out mother. And O, omega, know how it comes between and neutrality, or neutralizing, comes between mother and omega. See, this is about hypergenesis. This is about the electrical and engineering of the mind, the electrical engineering of correlation nature, which is greater than and more finite than comparison nature. See, but we haven't had this taught properly, English grammar, and because since semi-ancient times, for example, modern countries were fit to and as identities individually grouped together tactically ulterior from how we were revealed by the system that revealed us individual grouped together. And we have black pupils, whites of eyes, and exception nature, because it tells us how to answer our questions. But we've had this left out from our questions, and with that as that relevant to that dictated to us regarding this, the value of color, the value of integrity, of the voices of the law that don't have it, and as their relevant collusion with the non-integrity, overt criminally foreign influence, private left criminally foreign influence, overtly criminal, all that insidiousness of people A through Z has been tactically maintained as an affront to where and how sensed and maintained her as any voice that's going to use the short words to use what is and using truths and facts that are true always, not denying the slightest exceptions, not faking exceptions. So we have people at locations planting evidences. No, I'm just trying to be a good lawyer. There's maintenance to criminally foreign influence time treatments at interbranch locations, formal ones, by individuals with more predicate acts against people in areas than there are streets in our areas. And this has already been sustained. And nature has been demonstrating that. They've been blaming other things, others ourselves. So there is worse than criminal incompetence. And there's all kinds of fake sides of issues where subject treatments are maintained criminally foreign influence. Uses of exception nature, where and how. Functionally, a breaching method uses how everyone uses exception nature, ulterior from how nature itself uses exceptions and exception nature. And that is also where and how it uses it is also in demonstration. It uses it to show us how it uses it distinctly from ourselves. Like we can't be the value only increasing, therefore, as an identity of order, even by of truth before the finite now. The smallest finite detail of the republic for which we stand now. No, it came from ancient times, before science became criminally foreign influence. But the value of truth before that is true. What came true before we were a republic. The Native Americans had been fighting to defend themselves, and everyone lost that fight. So everyone keeps fighting, leaving out the way to win, as every individual, as any group, if they do it, or any, and that's how to speak properly for the humanity, the species volume science, which is species/individual. Only an individual could speak for the species, could defend the order of the finite. So individuals of each branch of government will speak things that the other branches don't want them, the other members don't want them to speak, didn't want them to speak at times, etc. Not by accident. There's remote uses of that. They never had possession of their identity where and how it counts. Like see amounts. To why? To the truth. They'll tell why and how. Really. People could entertain the suburbs to actively nature, let alone New York City. And we have the means like that even in the suburbs to open up space, spots that were better than a local vacation. To care about the people that have stacked upon in New York City. That's a torture method. No matter how nice the people around you are or not, then you have to walk to work. You have to go down to school for what? And through what? You know what I'm saying? You'll run into I'm not a doctor. So this is also World Trade Center. Leading up to the World Trade Center, in that context and since, people from Connecticut have been intercities planting fake things in databases, criminally foreign influence uses of people's names, switching names. There's a principal child abuser, proven, a principal being, who made a confession and brought up the name Mike Levine, who's one of the ones on off Town Line Drive. I think it was around. It was someone with the name Smith the other day brought it up in a video. Since I was a little kid, people associated with the corner of Town Line Drive in Rocky Hill, and people associated with the shopping plazas haven't had roles planting federal crimes in backgrounds behind people's backs as fact-checking nature-oriented predicate actions to child campuses. They did this on and off. They had rules on untimely death on Trinity College. I'm trying to tell the dean about too. They have no. Some people from another classroom came in my classroom and brought up bagels and the name Chet Casper and Debbie Gold when I was in 6th grade. And these are people also that brought up the name Lance Cuddy. I don't know anything about him, but these are also people that were involved years earlier putting federal crimes databases like this. So I don't know what it has to do, but it has to do with there was a recent home breaking at the corner of Carriage Hill Drive and Fairlane Drive. And that has a whole bunch of people that have, through time, ties to on off Town Line Drive, in the corner of Town Line Drive and Sausty Highway, and the shopping center there, who also have the phenomenon of roles as ties to names that are involved with stacking little allusions into databases. But they do it in ways where people are forced to speak through others. And they've been attaching little kids to fake ties to other little kids. Our campus is filmed 24/7. They're filming fake things because of the relevance. These are people involved. They attach me and others who were in the world. We were in the Ninth Circuit Court right next to the World Trade Center towers, right before they were attacked. And the night before, proven after the attack, they had post-dated documents from inside the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center towers. And they had, right before the attack, they had presented those papers to the panel of judges, who then ruled after that they had been handed in late, because it had been proven afterwards. After the attack was proven anyway, the papers had been brought to the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center towers in Manhattan right before the attack. I mean, timely before the attack. They had been delivered to the court, time-stamped, and accepted by the court on time. But then, right before the World Trade Center attack, they showed them the fake ones that had been time-stamped, post-dated to appear late from inside the Ninth Circuit Court, again, right next to the World Trade Center towers, which is also relevant because roles with names with that have roles with switching with federal crime stacking fake things into cases and as courts in Connecticut, including roles with their family members, not wanted, but also increasingly wanted at the same time. How that is maintained is also recorded in rolls. So there are people with the name Pandolf and Spada, and like that are involved with judges and prosecutors with on off Town Line Drive, and with names on off Central Connecticut State University, who recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Rules also on off my street with the intelligence community, with names on off campuses with identity theft, fraud, slanders, roles relevant, and through time has something to do with the roles with Trinity College and with Central Connecticut State University names and confessions. That brought this up. I have Rob Reed that yelled out confessions to me 2 times on my street. One time years ago on Maple Street, I was standing near him. There are proofs that they took my picture to pretend I know him, to lie about the nature of how I know him. In other words, we had no communications. I didn't respond when he made a statement with that girl, and then when he made a confession regarding her being dead right after that, the next time near my house. People at Trinity College have roles with Rob Reed and a whole bunch of names like Eric, Mark Violet involved with Tim O'Brien and Andrew O'Brien, and people associated with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and names on off Trinity College, like with ILO family, on off child campuses and spots next to it through time with the with police forums. I don't know if they're, and then when you bring things up online, they change what you say. So they bring things up so no one will talk about things. They make people experience things, then they make it look sound like you're involved with it. With the same way, there's a whole bunch of people tied to Christopher Walters, who's involved with Charlie Bowes and his sister. I don't know his sister's name and his family. They have roles with intelligence community on and off Trinity College, with people bringing up their names since I was a kid, involved with identity theft, fraud, and relevant uses of it on and off my street as the names evolved, with the police switching and forging names, confessions tied to a Scalora family involved with it. They're also one of the families involved leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and sense. There was also people, so they're preventing me and others from reporting things about that. And they attached us to fake conversations with investigators about it. They had forced Saudis who didn't want roles with psychology, corruption leading up to the World Trade Center with the roles with it. They have roles on off a principal child offenders campus for self-value. They have roles with Russians with this too, at the same time as the whole bunch of different countries on off Hartford Hospital, involved with the Leahy family, and people with Sandy Hook, also with the courts and prosecutors and judges and news media and fire departments criminally involved. And there's a prison campus in Sandy Hook that has crimes with their patients and criminals before they get caught, and with physical delusions, nature delusions, and identity delusions relevant. Not even a doctor will delineate their delusions from their criminally influenced souls into roles with these people with statutes read through criminal foreign influences, which is one thing relevant. So we have to have Judge Napolitano, told about this, because they've attached me and others to fake conversations about the World Trade Center. It has something to do with a Mr. Abruzzi. Mr. Abruzzi, who was my 5th grade teacher. I never had a conversation. We tried to make one fake exception with a one time I encouraged him, one side of encouragement for, he had applied to, he wanted to be one of the people that went up in outer space. That wasn't even a conversation. There was no conversation with him. There was a Mr. Abruzzi, and this is after the name of Central Connecticut State University got already brought up. One of the things that people involved with overt criminal enterprises and interbreeding at the same time do affect are confessions and people of pretend passions and emotions. Right when someone's walking around the corner, they'll tell them something and they have the person walk around the corner right then. This is one of the ways the interbranch keeps covered up where and how they are used remotely, with the overt criminal enterprises and private ones, whole bunch of different countries too. I recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed also with the interbranch in the Britain and Hartford involved criminally with Town Line Drive in Rock Hill through time, and the campuses in Wethersfield. And the programs has something to do with their role, the names. There are roles with names on all sides of the Wethersfield Community Center, the community center through time. A Cololo family and a Demaro family recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. There are judges and prosecutors involved with them criminally foreign influence with overt criminal enterprises and private ones involved with child abuses together and medical families. People tied to them confessed, recorded, and demonstrated this too. Now, these are police families with Newington Police Department too, also with the name D. Simone. And I don't know the other name, I think it's Phelps. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with the Wethersfield Police forging and switching names, planting federal crimes with this Joshua Julian child sex offenders. So this guy better drop his badge and better get on paper with the judges and prosecutors and get this letter to get me heard to Mr. Judge Napolitano, because they use you before when you were still speaking for Fox News. They had you roles with it. This is right through administrations. They've been fabricating audio and video transcripts at the Wethersfield Police Department with other police departments, state police, people involved with forensics locations, a whole bunch of ties to the same house /S involved with predicate acts with them, and their uses of the corners and the names of that corners through time. Also, a guy who said he was the partner of a Detective Dillon years ago came into one of my speech classes, and one of the girls in the class is one of the ones involved with the Ray Claw confessions and demonstrations, and her brother, in other words, on off the state offices and on off the state with people who spots. Wethersfield Pizza is involved with sequence shifts, other natures of federal crimes with them, identity thefts, frauds, and slanders, also with their neighbors, involved with people on my street through time, attaching me to fake locations, fake ties to others, fake natures of ties to others, fake exceptions that they use criminally, where they use time treatments, criminally foreign influencing cases. So we're going to use what's hyper evidentially recorded, which uses where they were using evidences that they knew were fake, and that they're hiding that because it's in databases. It's relevant to where and to how they're used remotely. So there's a poor Paul Kelly, is one of the names with his family members. I don't even know his family members. At a corner, I forgot the name of the corner of the street. I believe it might be the one on Wells Road. But that house and one near it is one of the ones involved with the news media, has been influencing parents and kids to pretend things about their privacy, use words like privacy to leave out criminally foreign influence uses of them, to cover up sequence shifts and federal crimes the news media had with them. So the news media has people from Modern Pastry and Mazzucato Pastry involved with federal crimes with Wethersfield Police Chief and Rocky Hill police families like Andrew O'Brien, Tim O'Brien, also involved with child abuses and the crime method from other classes behind people's backs, fake exceptions in our faces, and that mix too, through time relevant. And so it has something to do with the roles with the spots at the and with names associated with the spots next to the state capitol in Connecticut. They've been planting fake things in databases. I never had a conversation with Nick LaPera. I don't know his brother. I never had a conversation with him. The exception was like they tried to make it look like there was an exception. And like we had it was like a fake fight right off of Two Rod Highway near Brian Bonan's house. I never saw them together. I don't know them. Brian Bonan pretended to know me too. He knew me through others, confessed, demonstrated, recorded, confirmed. He's rolled with some prosecutors and judges and people associated with Maria Vizino and people I don't know my name, people on the Board of Education years ago and through time who had roles with various natures of federal crimes. of evidences and other natures of bad things, child abuses. As people involved with elderly homes, criminally involved, you spots 3 spots next to the end of the World Turnpike, spots next to every place. That's how they keep everyone's sense and sensibilities entertaining, only fake, speaking for why and how people are in New York City and what their state of being there is as. Not honesty spoke for New York City. There's a lot of people, a lot of pain there. The suburbs are tactically denatured. They have this little theater where we don't even see each other. And why, where, and how we don't see people is not because of why they said. They pretended we knew each other when we didn't. They made fake exceptions. So we have to deal with this because they've been using consciously criminally foreign influence crime methods and tricks with the databases between campuses that are connected, including uses of public and private schools. Fools. Don't hide and plot. I rap it out. Make sure they hear it. Make sure they get it. Someone, please. As we move to C's, they see like punks. No one spoke for America yet. Get them on paper. Get them on paper or down. If they made a mistake legitimately, they couldn't fathom it, then say sorry, but give me those cops' names too, judges, Your Honor, please. Maybe get those judges in sequence too, because there's various natures of court personally criminally involved through time more and more with more and more names. There's somebody Berger, I don't even know his kids' names, they know my name. Not because they're being honest about privacy in the background. They painted themselves in corners, you sick fake punks. They also have roles on off Covington Street in New Britain with the intelligence community associated with this suburb Berger and with some girl who pretended to know me, tried to make a fake exception involved with sequence checks with the judges and prosecutors and the intelligence community with my name and with her and her mind back there and through time. I don't even know her name. Some girl tied to something with Jerry from years ago used to drive I don't even know. I think we still drive that, but I think that was the one. Anyway, I know it was the one through time. They have something to do with the intelligence community trains the state police and then people associated with the FBI and the CIA and the military that are criminally foreign influenced. And they spread lies about others and they call people liars when they're little fakes. Involved also tied back to my grammar school where these games are people that are not even in our classes and they're mixing it with private school kids that come onto the public schools to make little syntactical tricks. And then when you say truths, it makes you look like they know them from schools and things like that. Investigators are increasingly perfectly being and having been used remotely criminally foreign influence. When they ask them what their borders are about, the breaching method measures and maintains that worse than criminal incompetence, tactical delusions, and worse is only capable of speaking about what the borders are about. The borders are about where and how our identity's volume is being exploited, where how we're actually manifest individually grouped together. These are little fakes here and there together with their patients and criminals and against innocents increasingly and against themselves, forcing everyone to keep the high of their own, lie progressions, finite active progressive lies, identity theft, fraud, slander type words and natures from being discerned. That's what's actually recorded. We have some fake courts. We have some people that can't defend our countries, how they're individual grouped together. So they hurt each other's kids here and there. And then to stop it, it only keeps concealed. Rolls with what I caught them doing off the campuses of the youngest age. Whole bunch of people in the intelligence community associated with this Ray Cololo and a Ray Reynolds and a Joe DeMoro and their neighbors. I don't even know their names. I think it's a Fazina. And there's a Faenza, Fazina, and there's another one similar to that on off of Valley Crest, I believe if I remember correctly, in Wethersfield. Yeah, well, from Facebook, I saw that because one of the people that was involved with federal crimes with evidences and with little tricks with that, pretending pastors and Muslims, where they're planting fake things relevant to other federal crimes they had before that. People associated with them. Like, I don't even know that guy's name. It has something to do all along Walker Hill Road too. And on Walker Hill, where it meets Knott Street, people involved with some prosecutors and judges in the intelligence community, involved with a Walters family and with the Spotter family, and were confected confessions to me there. And that was Ray Colo asked me a whole bunch of times in a row if I slept with, or I forgot if he asked me if I slept with or fooled around with one of the spotters. I forgot which one he asked me about too. But they both had a bunch of boyfriends involved with the intelligence community that were slandering me. And see now they're trying to make it look like it's between me and this thing. And she had her neighbors involved with that too, like Maria Vazino involved with sequences with them. Never saw Maria Vazino on Weatherfield High School campus in my life. Never saw her on any other Weatherfield campus in my life. But her and her husband, Stephen Stocco, involved on and off Central Connecticut State University, a whole bunch of her boyfriends and friends of hers and neighbors of hers involved with identity thefts and frauds, and through time with people on the kids, the leaders of the kids have their own kids involved with their narratives, pretending stuff about me, fake things in databases, pretending to believe other things people say, because what's actually recorded, they were involved with various natures of predicate acts, everyone speaking to other in the background. That's how they got involved with it. Then they asked them questions about what they told themselves. You have some sick, fake people only capable of speaking for the law from countries A through Z. And this is a problem. We're going to overcome this. We could do it. People here. 10.